raining and it's early. So I guess both of them. All right, ladies. So for today's class, the topic is the political and the religious practices of the Taino Indians or the Taino Indian. So this is the topic, the political and religious practices of the Taino Indians. Our objective, what we aim to look at today is that we are going to describe the political and the religious practices of the Taino Indians. So we need to know what was their political system like and what was their religious system like. That's what we're going to.
Excuse me, sir.
Go ahead.
Can you please talk up a little bit since it's like raining very heavily where I am? And I can't really hear.
You don't have a headphone?
No, sir.
All right. So describe, so our objective, you're hearing a little better?
Yes, sir.
All right, so the objective for today is that we're going to describe the political and the religious practices of the Taino Indians in the Americas up to 1492. So we need to know what was their political system like and what was their religious system like. Now, this is a activity so that you're going to do for 5 minutes. So think about it, political. So you're going to pretend that you are a historian, right? Three questions you would ask about the Taino political system. So in your notebooks, right, three questions you would ask about the Taino political system. Pretend that you're a historian and you're going to study about the Taino. What are 3 questions you're going to ask? You might have prior knowledge about them. 3 questions about their political system. 5 minutes, ladies. All right, ladies, so we are going to our questions now. Christian, you want to share your 3 questions?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
The first question is, how did the cacique become the leader?
How did the cacique become the leader? Good. Next one.
After the cacique dies, who steps up?
All right. Yes.
What are some roles that the cacique play?
What are some of the roles the cacique play? Very good. Excellent. Lawyer hand. Groves. What's your 3 questions?
Hold on, first. I just burned myself. My 3 questions are: who makes the rules? Who makes the rules? What do they believe, or what are their beliefs? And can everyone make choices of their own, or do they have to follow a specific, Yeah.
Yes. Those are excellent questions also. Maklish, Rihanna,
Yes, sir.
go ahead.
What were their laws? What were the consequences if anyone broke the law? And how many people made up their government system, and who are they?
All right, good. Hemmings,
What were their laws? Who made their laws? How were they punished if they disobeyed the laws? And did they have a democratic government?
democratic government. Well, very good question. Denton.
Sir, I have how did they choose the caciques?
Mm-hmm.
How did their political practice link to their religious practices? And what privileges did the leaders earn?
All right. Earn in terms of salary.
No, like what privileges did they, what were they given as
All right.
that?
Some privilege, because you know with leadership comes privilege. Very good. Excellent. Brown.
Sir, my three questions are: what were the various roles of the political system? How did this structure impact the daily lives of the Tainos? And what were the religious practices they had?
All right. Good. Lorraine. Renee.
Sir, I actually have five,
Time. Good. Go ahead. Go ahead.
but it's kind of similar, but I'm still gonna read it.
Yeah,
Okay, so
man.
for number one, I have if there were laws, what were the laws each Taino had to abide by? Two, how were each member in the system elected? What were the various roles of each member? Did the government officials and the people get along? And was there any rivalry or war between the general public and the government?
Government. Very good. No, these are some excellent questions that historians, real historians, are interested in. For all the questions, all the students, you would have asked some excellent questions. Pretending that you're a historian, you would have asked some very excellent questions. Now, ladies, listen to this now. There are some questions that you ask that historians are still asking today. All right? However, from what we would have gleaned from uh, artifacts, what archaeologists would have discovered, and the next is what the Europeans saw and recorded, then we can understand a little bit or understand maybe just a little about some of their political and their religious system. So the first thing I want to look at is that I have some similar questions like you. So who makes the rule? What rules do they have? Can everyone make choices? What do they believe? What is the history of this place? So these are some questions that we ask when we are looking at the political. And all of you would have asked those very important questions, or even some way better questions that than what is on the screen. All right. So you are the true historian. All right. So here now, ladies, political. Now, the first thing we need to know, and everybody, well, most of you would have agreed to this, that the ruler of the Taino village was called a cacique. Now, as I said in yesterday's class, that you could have, there on an island, you could have more than one groups or more than one villages on an island. So each village would have had their own cacique or their own rule. All right. Now, the caciques were mostly males. They were mostly males. However, historians have discovered that some females were selected as cacique. So that is one of the things that we need. So they were mostly males, and sometimes females were selected. So it seems as if when it comes to gender, the
Man,
yes, sometimes when it comes to gender, it seems as if also that the females, it's not all the time it was a male-dominated society where males alone only lead. Because in today's society, in some countries, only males alone can be leaders, right? But
Yes.
in the Taino society, historians today have discovered that females were also selected as caciques. Now, the caciques were hereditary. All right, I have a problem with pronouncing that word. And anybody know what that word means?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
It means that it's like a family link. Like you give it to your offspring.
You give it to your offspring. Very well. Excellent. And so that is correct. So usually what this means is that you receive or pass down leadership by inheritance or by reason of birth. So because you were born in a particular family, then you are heir of leadership, right? Now, parents pass down leadership to their children. Now, if a cacique became too sick, he was strangled. He was replaced by the eldest son. And if at times the eldest son, if he didn't have a son, then it would have gone to his sister's eldest son. Now, in an event, ladies, where the sister have no son, then it would have gone to his daughter. That's what historians are saying today. When I was going to school, that was not the case. They never used to say that. But right now, that is what they are saying. Okay? So it would have passed to their
Sir,
go ahead.
sir, did you just say that when the cassette became too sick, they strangled them?
Yes, strangle them if they could not perform their duties.
Wow.
Sir,
Mhm.
Yes, go ahead.
sir, so what about the cacique's brother?
Uh, there's no information on that. I guess from what they would have observed or what was written, they said that it was passed down by the to the eldest son or the sister. The sister was second in line, but it seems as if it's a society that also values female leadership, or there's no maybe gender bias when it comes to selecting a leader.
Sir, I think what's the not a problem. What I think happened was that if there was no males available,
Yes,
it was then passed on to a female because they have no other male.
yes,
Mm.
I agree with you. If you have another point,
No, sir.
okay. I agree with you. I agree with you. So that is also uh, another way in which leadership was passed down. Now, they never go to polls like us today, uh, and like put our X beside a name, or they have some where you select the leader. It
Put
seems
the
as
X
if,
beside the head.
okay, all right. So it seems as if, ladies, that the selection of leaders, maybe when they go into a new place, the person who took the forefront of leadership, the person who said, all right, come and discover or maybe take over a land or what, really not take over, but migrate to a land, but they are the ones who are the forefront of the leadership. It passed down. They became the cacique, and then after a period of time, their generation continued to remain the cacique. All right. The next thing, ladies, is this stool here. Oh, we come into the stool. Now, what were the responsibilities of the cacique? Now, the cacique had three main responsibilities. One, he was a political leader, he was also a religious leader, and also a judicial leader. So, in our society today, we have politicians who are political leaders. And then we have church leaders. So, when we go to church, we have leaders who are in charge of the churches. And then if we have any problems, so for example, if James and I, Bianca and I have a problem, or say I go to Bianca house and I steal Bianca mangoes from her tree, she never give me permission to go and take her mango. I go into her house and she call the police on me and the police lock me up. Then Bianca and I go to the police station and then we go to the court. And I can tell the court, say, listen, I used to live there before. I planted that mango tree right there. Bianca cannot tell me anything about it. And then the court can say, while it is true that you would have planted the mango tree, she's now the owner of the land. And so the tree belongs to her. So if you need mango, you cannot just go into the yard just like that and pick the mango. You need to ask permission. You go to the judge to make to solve problems in the society, right? The cacique also played the role as judge in their society. So that was quite a lot of role. Now, I'm going to give you an example. This is not far-fetched. For those of us who are religious and we go to church, you remember Moses in the Bible? When he...
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
What about Moses when he led the children of Israel out of slavery? He became leader. He became leader of the children of Israel. And every single problem that they had, they went to Moses. So he was religious leader. He was a political leader. He made a decision. Well, he said he consulted God. And same thing with a cacique too. A cacique said that for every decision that he made or made back then, well, from what has been recorded, is that he would have consulted the various gods, just like Moses. And Moses also had any problems in the society, he would have solved them. In fact, Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, actually said to him one time, said, listen, Moses, if you sit here all day and judge cases, you're going to be tired. You're going to wear yourself out. You need to select, what do you call it? You need to select able men among you, and you should call them judges, right? So that is how we have the system of judges that evolve in our society today. So in the same way, what the cacique, who was a political leader, he was a political leader, a religious leader, and also a judicial leader. So political, he makes decision in the community. So he decided who should hunt, where you should hunt, who should fish, where you should fish, who should farm, where you should farm, how the land should be distributed among families, who should build what house here, how big your house should be, how small your house should be, what you should wear, what you should not wear. Quite a lot of responsibility he had, quite a lot of decision making that the cacique would have had. Also,
Sir,
go ahead.
sir, doesn't this sound like a communist society to you, though?
No, but it's the same thing today in our society. Same thing. Make the decision. Go. It's the same. When 9 o'clock come right now, I cannot go outside. I feel like well, if you want us to say it's a communist society, if you're getting what I'm saying, I cannot go anywhere and build a house just like.
No, sir, I'm talking about the money-making part, when they make their own money and it goes to him, sir, all of it, and then he distributes the land.
to who he wants to.
But even today, when I work, I have to pay taxes. When I go and buy food at the supermarket, I pay tax to the government.
Sir, doesn't he take everything though?
No, wouldn't take everything. He didn't take everything. So when you go out, what he do is that he takes as a leader, they gave him the best food. So you go and hunt, you see a nice iguana out there, it is the best iguana, you carry it to the cacique. Same thing, you go and fish, you carry it to the cacique. The best fish, you're not going to give him all your fish. And we know human beings stay. I go to country, I get some bananas from the country. I bring some bananas for my pastor at my church. He might feel that it's the best banana, but deep down in my heart, it's not the best banana. He's getting. Because I'm going to keep back my best banana. That could happen in any society. You get what I'm saying? So it's not a communist society. And we can't apply those terms to the indigenous society because back then, the term communism was not even close to be in existence in the world. Not even the term democracy.
I
All
know,
right.
I know that, sir. It's just I was wondering if the society, if you could like classify it as that. That's what I was wondering, sir.
All right. You want to ask the question if it was like an autocratic society? Is that
Yes,
the
sir.
all right? I know where you're getting at because it seems because all the powers would have rested in the hands of the cacique or his group, they would have made all the decisions, right? But at the end of the day, it's today we select leaders and it's the same. That's my personal view. But you could take from it also that there was some level of authoritarianism. You could take from it. Because if he makes all the decision, and it's not true that he makes all the decision, he would have consulted another group of people when he's making this. But we will go later on in the lesson, I will touch on that. So another thing, ladies, is that he would have distributed the lands also. So those were some of the political decisions that the cacique would have taken. Religious leader, he was involved in religious ceremonies, very much involved in the religious ceremonies. And also judicial leader, he solved dispute between members in the village. That was the the cacique role. Now, someone asked about the privileges that the cacique would have had. We know for sure that one, the cacique had the largest house in the village. I need to put that one. So they had the largest house in the village. The next one is that the cacique were buried with their favorite articles. One book said not only their articles, but their wives. Uh, Another thing is that the cacique wore long aprons with feathers and they wore jewelry. So for example, like the gold, they would have worn gold. So that's one of the, not everybody in the society wore gold, but the cacique wore gold, right?
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
go ahead.
So did they bury the woman alive?
That is a question. I doubt that is, that happened. I doubt, but if your textbook, if you look at your textbook, you realize that they said they, they they buried with their favorite articles and their wives. It could not be, well, that I'm just saying that it could not be that them bury the
You
woman
tell me,
alive.
name my
Sir,
ground Cassie.
exactly. No, thank you.
What am I
Sir,
doing?
it said that the Cacique's wife, I read this book and it said that Cacique's wife wore a longer apron than the rest of women.
Yes. Also, that was another stuff. Yes, you're correct. But I doubt it was buried. You have the green textbook, right?
What?
That green Caribbean story.
I think so, yeah.
That ensure that you read that textbook because that's what we're going through. All
I
right.
read, and that's what it said, that they were buried with three of their favorite wives.
Yes.
Mm-mm.
So
Wait, three of them?
No, sir. Married, sir.
so so that is, and then when I read it, I years ago from I was doing this stuff, I used to ask the question, so the wives were alive? Because there's no way you can bury somebody that is alive.
I
And
mean, yes, you can.
well,
Most likely they were alive, because I also read that they weren't afraid of death. So maybe they were.
Yeah, they weren't afraid of that for sure.
yeah.
Like, sir, did they have a specific burial ground for the cacique separate from the regular people?
Uh we the truth is that from what we have seen, it would suggest that they had their special burial ground, because it would suggest when archaeologists go and they do their findings, they realize that, for example, recently in Jamaica, I believe last year, they found a cacique burial ground. And in the burial ground, it shows the a bowl. This is something that is not written in books, but that what was found in Spanish Town last year, where they found a bowl with, actually, it seems as if fruits were and vegetables and stuff were in the bowl. And so that's where they would have placed the the cas buried the cacique with a bowl. So maybe that was his favorite or her favorite bowl. And the bones were there. And actually, jewelry, there are some jewelry and the zemis. So they actually found some zemi buried with the cacique. So that's how they knew that it was a cacique, right?
Sir,
Go ahead.
so sir, can you imagine how much? Sir, they had like over 30 wives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so sir, that means that
Not
somebody.
everybody would have over 30 wives.
Oh, but I'm saying, sir, if it was me, I would make sure to be one of the worst wives, cause I wouldn't want to be buried alive with anybody.
But remember, your mindset then would have your mindset would have been that, listen, I don't fear death.
Mm.
So
Sir, you ever wonder with these things, like, sir, like these men who have like a lot of wives and stuff, would it not be like a lot of problem? Because like, you know how women stay, like some of them very, spiteful towards each other and stuff like that. So
yes,
wouldn't there be some sort of house problems?
it must be. It would be, you must have problems. Once you have more than one people competing,
Yeah,
you're going to have problems, right?
especially women.
I wouldn't say especially women, because even when men compete, they can be more devious in their, you know?
Okay,
Yes.
that's true.
Look at how males in societies where you have males who compete with each other, they go and they kill, they do all type of stuff when they're in their competition, right?
Mm.
So let us not ascribe certain things.
Sir, it was a polygamy relationship.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it was.
Them people not.
But we can't say
But
that. So,
sir,
all people in
even
the
the
Bible
Bible
have.
Sir,
did it too.
sir,
Go ahead.
how is it that the indigenous people are so different from the Europeans? Because they're like some things they do is like so different, and I don't people would think that because the Tainos didn't know certain stuff, the Europeans don't know it as well.
Hmm?
That repeat for me.
People would think that because the Tainos are the indigenous people have certain practices like what? The
European.
Europeans
Yeah.
had the same practices or they didn't know certain things as well.
That's to some extent yes, to some extent no. The Tainos, they had their practices. The Europeans, they would have had their practices. And the truth is that they could be some similarities between both the Europeans. Because remember, they're a new group. Europeans would have been quite new to this part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And even if we go to some places, look for example, if we go to some other Caribbean islands, or even we go to the United States, we are going to say, wow, we find some similarities with the people that live in those places, and at the same time, we are going to find differences.
Mm-hmm.
So the Europeans might be saying, all right, polygamy is something that is wrong, but in Europe, at the time, one man in Europe could have had a wife and he would
Yeah.
have had his mistresses.
Yeah.
The only thing is that him just never married all three of them.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd find similarities and differences in the society. They were not, and in the same way, they would have their different objects or different favorite stools. The Europeans, the Queen of England or the King of England at that time, she have her special seat that she sit when she's making decision or he's making decision. It's just my stool is made out of the board and designed a particular way, while her stool is made out, or his stool, the king's stool, is made out of maybe
Concrete.
not concrete, maybe some form of iron or something like that. So there are similarities. Um, one thing, ladies, is that the duo was the stool, and these are some of the stools that were found in the Caribbean by archaeologists, or some of these stools are in England. Once the Europeans came, they saw these stools and they took them to England to show people, and it's in their archive, their museum in England, right? So that was a stool, a special stool that the cacique would have had. Uh, Below the cacique was the Nitainos. This group were the nobles, right? And they assisted the cacique. This is a group that is made up of usually the eldest males in the society. So when the cacique were actually making decisions, they would have meet with this group. And some of this group, while they help with decision making, some were medicine men in the group or priests. So this group, the nobles, were quite diverse. Not all of them were priests and not all of them were medicine men, but one thing for sure is that they were the eldest males in the society and they decision. So this is a structure, their political structure, the cacique at the top and the Nitayenos at the bottom of it, and they would have assisted the cacique. All right. Uh, so we would have just look now, ladies, at the political. When it comes to their religious, uh, I was going to ask you to define these terms, but time would have expired and I want to go through it. So one of the first term is that we need to know is that the Tainos were polytheistic, right? And this is the belief in more than one God. They believe in more than one God, right? And their God was represented in the form of a zemi. So right here, if you look on my screen, this is a zemi. And you have different forms of zemis, right? Last year in Helsha, Jamaica, everybody know Helsha, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
Good. Last year in Helsha, they would have found a zemi in Helsha. I was trying to put that on the slide now. Guess what? It was. So they found zemis in Helsha, in White Mall. Anybody know White Mall in St. Catherine?
Yes, sir.
Quite a lot of Taino would have lived there, and they found zemis there also. Every time archaeologists go there and excavate, they found another Taino, something for the Taino. Even if you live in White Mall where your house is, you might be living way under some a burial ground of the Tai in that area. All right. The the one of the things is that they were polytheistic. Note the word ladies because sometime in the exam they tend to ask you these terms. Please, they always ask some terms like this. So to define what is polytheistic. Now we know that polytheists believe in more than one God, and we know for sure that they also believed in animism, which is that nature, they were nature worshippers, so they believed that nature had powers, things in nature had powers. So they believe that animals had powers, plants had powers, the rocks had powers, rivers had powers, the weather system had powers, everything basically that is not non objects, things that are objects that we perceive today that have no life, they believe that those things were actually living things. The rock,
Excuse me, sir.
go ahead.
Would that then be the reason as to why they use the barkless dog to help them to hunt because they think that they have powers to navigate and help them find a food source?
Yes, yes. That's one of the reasons. And so, yes, so they were nature worshippers. So while they believe in different gods, they also would have believed in nature, that were everything in nature was very powerful,
Powerful.
right? And the next thing is that they were also ancestral worshippers. They tend to revere their dead ancestors. And so usually what they usually happen is that they usually made the zemis, all these different stuff. The zemis were made from the skulls or the bones of their ancestors. The wood, cotton, and shell. So that's how they would have made their zemis. The skulls and the bones of the ancestors, the wood, cotton, and shell. And the zemis actually represent a god. It represents a god. So, for example, it you could have a god of sickness, a god of luck, a god of misfortune, things like that. It represents a god.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, have you ever wondered what it would be like in Jamaica if Tainos were still here?
They uh, uh, maybe it wouldn't be much of a same because the European would have forced them into their culture, because right now still have Kalinagos living in Dominica in the Eastern Caribbean, and they they are not, what do you call it now? They are very European and nice. So
So,
maybe
sir, if they
this
were still here, there wouldn't be any like problem then.
no, but it's their land. Remember, both of us is here
Oh yeah.
inhabiting the people's land. You sound like the European. Remember, we are not from here, originally. We were born here, but we are not the original people here. They were. So if God should raise them up now and then come back and the man say, listen, they need to go back where they come from.
Then would that kill we set time?
All right, ladies. Another thing, ladies, I want to
Sir,
go ahead.
if you show us the last slide, please.
I'm going there. The another thing I want you to know, ladies, is that sacrifice, the Tainos didn't slaughter animals or persons to in forms of worship. That is not, they didn't make
So
sacrifice to
they
God. That is the
sacrifice
big truth.
people
All
too.
right? No animal, no people.
So I have it there, sir.
Why I have it right here? Because I want, if you get a multiple choice question and they ask you about it, I want you to know that they did not. Other groups would have done sacrifice,
Okay.
but not the Taino. All right? The next thing, ladies, as I said before, that the Zemis represented the various gods. So you have God of rain, wind, hurricane, fire, fertility. They also believe that the trees, the rivers, and the rocks were the homes of evil spirits. Maybe one day they're going down to the river and the river was so heavy that the river just killed some of, well, they turn over the canoe and some of them died. So maybe that's one of the reasons why they believe that the river was evil.
Mm-hmm.
When I was growing up, I used to live close to a river. I could not go close to the river. Maybe the same thing my parents think, that going to the river is evil, so you don't go. Some people even have the belief that for the what that area, Flat Bridge, Flat
Yeah.
Bridge in St. Catherine, they say
Have
that
Yes,
mermaid. Have
sir.
mermaid.
And people dead over there.
and people dead, so they
That is
believe,
true.
It's
that
true.
that place is evil. Maybe you go to a continue. So maybe also you have a tree in a particular place, and every time somebody go on the tree, them drop down, them broke them neck, then dead.
Sir, there's this story about this parrot or something
Mhm.
like that. And he loved gold and he made a table of gold and he died out there or something like that.
Yes,
And he drags people under there. And they always have this thing to say, Mama, this mermaid thing out there and stuff like that.
yes, very true. And another thing, ladies, is that the caciques also would have smoked tobacco. Tobacco was a major thing during their service, where they
Mm-hmm.
would have smoked tobacco. And so once they got hallucinated, they were they believed that they were talking
They
to
got
the
high.
various gods, right? So these are some of the different stuff that they would have had. And they also wear amulets to protect themselves. Just like us today, some of us wear cross to protect ourselves from evil spirit. Or sometimes we put the little red stuff on the baby forehead to
Yeah.
protect the baby from duppies. You don't want duppies play with the baby. So these are some of the same ideas that they also had. All right, so these are the religious and the political practices. So ladies, for tomorrow's class, remember we're not having a live class tomorrow morning. So
Mm.
you're going to do a table, just the same thing with the Kalinagos. So you read up on the Kalinagos, do your table, political, political, economic, social, and then we are going to go through them next week. All right? Any
Yes, sir.
question?
Sir, can you please go back up to the nobles?
Here?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
All right, ladies, for those of you, remember you have a next class, so that's it. Have a great day and see you next week.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
All right, bye, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye, sir.